Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. It was supposed to be a nice quiet night, wasn't it? All the players were there for the PFA Awards, the trophies were being handed out, but a couple of statements later, and it's very, very different. There's, of course, ingoings, outgoings. There is really not long until the end of the transfer window. And so we needed to get a patch journalist on after last night, and we turned to the young, the renowned, the respected Mr. Lewis Steele. How are we, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right. You might be able to tell I've got a bit of a sore throat, so if I start croaking halfway through, apologies, but all good. Looking forward to talking about the drama of last night, which was annoying because it didn't come till quite late, did it? Why couldn't you have done that at midday?
Yeah, I was thinking that. My lad went back to school last night. I could have done without sort of being all the things going on. A bit earlier would have been better for everyone. But he obviously didn't care about that. He's got business to air. And we've got to talk about these Isak statements, Newcastle's retort to it as well, Lewis. I mean, This one, you put it out late. And just in case you're unaware, there you go. Need to charge your battery on your 5G there for your statement. But a couple of things to pull out with this. I mean, there's obviously why he wasn't there. That's not the big thing people are interested in. It's this. I kept quiet for a long time where others have spoken. The silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. And he talks about the reality, and he ends it with, when promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. Sounds a bit like Love Island, this, doesn't it? That's where things are for me right now, and why it's in the best interest of everyone, the change, not just myself. I mean, what did you make of this?
I think the whole thing is just an absolute mess at this point, and it has been for a while, to be fair. I think Isak believes that Newcastle have made him promises that he can leave this summer, and they're now not living up to them promises. So I think he has every right to be annoyed. Whether I would have written that statement if I was him is a different thing, but it must have been quite awkward for him sitting there while the saga's been going on. He's just sort of sitting in the background, the main character that we don't hear from. But I don't really think anyone comes out of it looking brilliant, really, the club or the player. I think obviously there has been promises made, but there's two versions of the events, and probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. But there's been a lot of claims and counterclaims and lies, and it's a mess. It'd be a good documentary, though.
Yeah, it does feel like this has got Netflix written all over it at some point, hasn't it, for a docuseries type of one. And you're right, probably the truth always tends to be somewhere in the middle. And Liverpool fans have taken this in different ways. Some of you know will have gone, this is great. This is the end game now. They're going to sell him, of course. This is all just winding to it. Some have gone the other end of the scale and gone, oh, I suppose they're going to dig their heels in now and everything like that. This is going to make it impossible. Are we in the middle still? Has this moved it up or down the barometer?
It's certainly moved it, but I'm not really sure which way it's moved it. It's as I said last time I was on it, Newcastle say he's not for sale, but then say he is for sale at this price, which is just bizarre to me. So maybe if they can get them players in, then I still think they'll sell him. It's just a case of every day that goes by, the chances of the move happening naturally do go down. So I think people have been asking me on Twitter for a percentage of it happening, and I don't really have one, but all I can say is it is going down with every day that ticks on by. But I think Newcastle have tried to shut the door completely on this saga, and if anything, they've left it ajar still by what they've said.
Yeah, I mean, this statement, and we've got to go into this one because this was the response, the retort, if you want to call it that. And yeah, they say they're disappointed, say, no commitment has ever been made by a club official that Alex can leave Newcastle United this summer. So we'll pick up on that bit shortly. It's the bit here where we do not foresee these conditions being met, because they are talking about the conditions of a sale this summer
Yeah.
not transpired. And yeah, there's a bit about a proud football club, but it's important to say for this, because I saw some people quote it, oh, that's them saying it's not for sale. It's definitely not that, is it?
No, I think the way I read it is that Newcastle want that 150 million that's been quite widely quoted. Liverpool have bid around 110 and maybe would be willing to meet in the middle somewhere. But as I say, Newcastle, I don't blame them for taking this stance, because he is their best player and best asset at the end of the day. But I think it's gone too far now. So at the start, fair enough, say he's not for sale because they don't want to sell him. But by this point, surely they must be thinking we need to get rid now, and sort of try and shake hands with Liverpool on in that halfway ground,
Yeah.
because it's clear that Liverpool and Isak both want the deal to happen, and he doesn't want to play for them anymore. So they need to cut their losses. And I think Newcastle's stance has forced Isak to be to sort of sully his reputation with the Newcastle fans, and I'm sure he didn't want it to get to that level. I'm sure he has a lot of respect for the fans, but it has got messy now, and there is only 11, 12 days left of the window.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. But a lot of it is based on Newcastle's incompetence that they can't sign a striker, because they've had all summer to do it. They've had all year to plan for. They should have always had a backup plan for if Isak wanted to leave, even if he didn't tell. Even if they are correct and he didn't tell them he wanted to leave, that they should have still thought that someone might want him based on how good he is. So I think Newcastle have only got themselves to blame.
Yeah, it just seems like they've had such a disastrous summer, although they're trying to paint it a different way. Depends how people look at it. There was a question I wanted to ask that Essex Red has put in there about we'll have to hand in a transfer request. Is this the new modern football version of a transfer request? Because there is no fax machines and things anymore. The fact that we have to tweet it and do it this way, or is that still an installment in the saga that could follow?
I mean, I pretty much view this as a transfer request, and I would say his actions should be classed as a transfer request before then. Whether it's an official thing in writing, I'm not sure whether that actually has to be done. I remember a few years ago when Harry Kane was trying to leave Spurs, he refused to train and then sort of buckled after 2 or 3 days and went back, and that was the end of that. Isak is standing firm in his stance, but it'd be interesting to see what will happen if in a month's time he's still at Newcastle. What does he do? Does he still continue to just sit on his own in his house and not train? And I don't know. It's just so messy, because surely if he does refuse to play, then Newcastle will have some sort of legal case on their hands. So it's a whole stupid situation. But I still think if Newcastle had any sense, they'd just say, "Oh, thank you very much, Liverpool. We'll take your 120 million, and
Yeah.
we'll buy 2 brilliant players with that, and we'll get rid of a player that doesn't. If he doesn't want to be there, then let him go." If it was, if a Liverpool player was forcing the way out, I think a lot of people would say, and Slot would probably say, "Well, if you don't want to play for us, then we don't want you either. So off you go." So let's see what the next week brings.
Time is ticking, like you say, and it is popping up. You've probably heard this quite often, or people asking you, I'm sure, on various social media. This expiration of his protected contract period, this famous or protracted Article 17. I mean, surely we're not going to get to that stage where legal parties are going to be engaged and, court cases and that. It doesn't feel like it'll get to that, surely.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it will, but the way that it's getting so messy, it's in effect it's someone who's under contract refusing to work. So if, in any other line of work, if you worked at a pub and you didn't want to turn up and pull pints, you just off you go. You'd just be sacked.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Isak, it's got to that with him, but there could be something like that on the horizon. I'm not sure. That's why I just think it's best for every party, Liverpool, Isak, and Newcastle, to just get rid of him and everyone move on from it, because it's just got messy, as I say.
Yeah, it does feel that way. It's a saga now. There's no other way of putting it. And because you said the chances are going down day by day, obviously many people still expect it to happen. People are looking and saying, Liverpool are a smart club. Where are the contingencies? Like maybe we'll start to hear names. So, I've got to ask you, contingencies, any names, hearing anything around it at all?
No, no, it's quiet. It's very quiet, which does still make me think that Isak is the one. Whether I don't think Liverpool have given up on him yet, and I think that he is that dream signing. And I think obviously everyone thought Federico Chiesa would leave. That now seems unlikely. So that's almost like one added into the mix. But obviously, if Isak, Liverpool are never the sort to sign someone for the sake of it, and I don't think there is a good enough number 9 on the market if Isak is not the one. But as I said earlier in the summer, what they did want was a versatile forward who can play across the front three, and maybe they will go in for someone. But at the moment, it is quiet in terms of names. So maybe one will just be plucked out of thin air next week, because this time last summer, no one knew that they were going to sign Chiesa. His name wasn't even mentioned. So, and that one all got wrapped up within 2 or 3 days. So maybe that'll happen now. So let's see. I did like Lucas Semenyo on Friday night, by the way.
By the
He
way,
came
yeah,
out
I think
good.
we'd all fancy him. Yeah, multifunctional, the way he's playing, absolutely. And I suppose that in terms of dominoes, the chain, the way it's all linked together, Visser is the one that keeps being linked with Newcastle, and people are reporting on that daily. If that one happens, that Newcastle do get Visser, they've got Jacob Ramsey as well. Will that be enough, you reckon, if Liverpool show up with the cash, or doubts around that one?
Well, as I say, with the door being left ajar and Newcastle trying to slam it shut, I think if they get one striker, I think Liverpool might just test their resolve, because from all the reporting from the Newcastle end, it's very clear that Newcastle themselves have been telling people we need 2 strikers to even consider letting him go, or 2 forwards. But I think if they get one, then Liverpool might just put in a little offer and see what happens. But surely they can't go on like this and not sign a striker. Surely they're going to have to get one from somewhere, whether they just need to up the money for Visser, surely. Or because they're in the Champions League, but they're not going to do very well in that, and they're not going to get back in the Champions League if they don't have a number 9. So surely they're going to have to stump up the cash in the next week.
It does seem absolutely insane. And to be honest, there's only a few weeks of the transfer window left. So we should find out some answers soon enough.